Pokémon Emerald was the perfect Pokémon game for me. It was not my first, but it was the one I played and got really into when I was the exact target audience for the Pokémon games. I was a 10 to 11-year-old boy.
Well, which was it?
I don't remember. My memory is old and withered now.
Oh.
Playing it on my borrowed cousin's Game Boy Advance SP, to this day, the music from Emerald's opening cutscene can bring tears to my eyes in nostalgic glee. Life was so much simpler back then. Of course it wasn't, I was just a kid and unaware of everything going on around me. But none of that mattered because I was determined to 100% this game, sans some of the ridiculous Battle Frontier stuff. But despite this deep sense of love I have for this game, there's one thing I never understood as a kid that I do now. Why did I always choose to play as a girl? No, wait, that's not this video. What the heck is up with Zangoose and Seviper? From their names to their looks with the odd-colored stripes and their odd-seeming rivalry, and like, what kind of cat is Zangoose anyway? How come Seviper is the evolution of Arbok, but Arbok can't actually evolve into it? What is going on? Well, now I know better, and now you will too.
Trainers, which one of these Pokemon evolves into Seviper?
So this was a real anime bumper in the West. Rather than just the iconic "Who's that Pokemon?" before and after the commercials, Gen 3 would do little quizzes and things like that. But this one was wrong and confused a lot of people, me included. It's a trick question. None of these evolve into Seviper, though the implication that maybe Suicune could is hilarious. But now when I unpause it,
now your child can visit.
Oh, right, commercials. Ugh. Hey, that looks pretty good. Why do old animated commercials always, like, over-animate the, like, taking a bite of food? Whoa! You know? Oh, now what's this one? Gosh. I just wish I had things from Japan, but they're all the way in Japan and not here in front of me. And most Japanese companies don't want to deal with international shipping. Oh, hi, didn't see you there. But like, look at these cool things from the Japanese Pokemon Center. There's so much that they either only sold over here in very limited quantities or never even bothered to bring overseas. But I want it. If only today's sponsor Zenmarket was a real thing that actually existed. Oh wait, it is! With Zenmarket, you can browse over 10,000 Japan-only online stores and buy anything you want. Then Zenmarket, with their big fancy Japanese address, order all the goods, pack them all in a big box, and then ship it to you internationally. I love just how easy it is. In fact, you can even browse Japanese online stores directly themselves and then find the product you want and then just copy and paste the URL into Zenmarket's search bar and bam, there it is! This holiday season, get your fellow anime and or Pokemon fan some merch they've never seen before because it's only all the way over there. And now, Zenmarket has a loyalty program for all shoppers. So the more you shop, the more you level up, the more you save with up to 1% cash back in Zen points and shopping credits you can use without having to add funds first. And you can use the promo code Lockstin to get 1,000 Zen points free, the equivalent of 1,000 yen off coupon. Check them out at the link below. Ooh, oh, and it's back.
Okay, trainers, if you chose Arbok, you were right.
There! See? False! Wrong! Incorrect statement! This definitely confused a lot of people back in the day, but my sheltered little self at the time was even more confused by what Zangoose was supposed to even be.
It's a weird cat. It's not a goose at all. I'm so confused.
Well you see, Zangoose is no cat. At least not primarily. It is partially, though. Remember, Pokemon don't have to be just based on one thing. The heck is Slowpoke, then?
Good point.
At its core, however, Zangoose is a different animal, one called a mongoose. The mongoose you're most likely familiar with is the meerkat, which has cat in the name.
This has only befuddled me more. A meerkat is not a goose at all. Why do we call these things gooses?
Because there are more languages than English.
Also, it's Spanish.
No.
Chinese?
Also no.
There's more languages than that!
The name is pulled from classical Hindi, as India has mongooses in abundance. Or is it mongoose? It's either. If you want to be classically correct, it's mongooses, but language adapts over time, and these days both are seen as equally valid. Now if you look at Zangoose next to various species of mongoose, you can easily see the relation. The two big claws, the particularly big tail that's fluffier than the rest of it, even the stripes on Zangoose could reflect the stripes on the banded mongoose. And from Turkey to India, there's a particular association given to these creatures. Animal violence warning. Boop, boop. Thank you. Mongooses are vicious little predators. Like, they look pretty cute and curious, but then they see a mouse or a snake and oh, shoot! The ruthless violence towards snakes especially. So I assume I don't need to explain why Zangoose and Seviper have this rivalry going on. Mongooses and king cobras get into fights so often that it became a sport, almost, with people specifically setting up fights and placing bets on the outcome. And while this is a predator-to-prey relationship, the mongoose only win 3 out of every 4 fights. So while betting on the mongoose is the safest option, if you bet on the cobra and it wins, the payout is better. Most animals try to avoid king cobras because they strike fast and are highly venomous. But the mongoose has evolved special tricks that render it resistant both to the cobra's attacks and to its venom when an attack lands. You'll notice Zangoose appears quite a bit fluffier than most of these mongoose, and that's likely because of how mongoose will fluff up their fur when fighting a cobra, which makes them appear bigger, which in turn means the cobra will have a harder time biting it. It might just get a mouthful of fluff instead. The Pokédex even mentions this. If it comes across a Seviper, its fur bristles, and it assumes its battle pose. It has feuded with Seviper for many generations. Memories of battling its arch-rival Seviper are etched into every cell of Zangoose's body. This Pokémon adroitly dodges attacks with incredible agility. That last entry gets into a common misconception. Many believe mongoose are immune to venom, thus it being able to fight cobras so well, but in reality, it's just really good at avoiding their strikes. Even if a cobra does bite it, that doesn't mean it managed to inject venom by the time the mongoose gets out of the chomp. Though, they do have minor resistance to the venom, more so than an equally sized mammal, but they can still die from it. But this resistance is likely as a result of their ancestors being bitten so often. But that misconception is reflected by Zangoose's signature ability, Toxic Boost, which raises its attack when poisoned. Why is poor Zangoose being poisoned all the time? Oh right, Seviper. But before we move over to Seviper, let's talk about how Zangoose is, in fact, partially a cat. First of all, its Pokédex category, the Fat Carrot the Fat Carrot. The Cat Ferret Pokémon? Like, sure, you could describe a mongoose as a cat ferret, but why not just call it the mongoose Pokémon, huh? And did you know Zangoose can retract its claws? Mongoose can't do that, but cats can. Mongoose also have round ears, but cat ears are pointy. Feral house cats can also be particularly vicious and are known to hunt smaller snakes regularly. That's why cats love long string toys. Mongoose are also in the Feliforma suborder, meaning they are closely related to house cats anyway. In fact, we can even specify a few cat breeds that are common from Turkey to India, where mongoose have their cobra rivalry. While the Indian Billy is the most common street cat in India, Persian and Himalayan cats are common in the area too, and they've got the huge white fluffy fur, and in the case of Himalayans, the different colored paws and ears like Zangoose. The Turkish Angora is particularly fluffy from the neck down too, as is the Turkish Van, which similarly has different ear colors and, like many species of real mongoose, have notably different colored tails. And I want to pet all of them, every last one, but they're over there, and I'm right here, and oh, it makes me so sad to know I can't possibly pet all of them. But fun fact, in Gen 3, Zangoose actually had purple claws, and I'm not sure why they decided to change that because it fits perfectly into its design, particularly in the context of its rivalry with Seviper. Notice, Seviper has odd-seeming purple parts on its chest and over its eye most notably. All the while, its fangs and sharpened tail blade are red, and Zangoose's odd chest marking and the scar on its eye are red, so it's battle damage from each other. Ancestral battle scars! Even their shinies reflect this. Shiny Zangoose has red claws and blue scars. Shiny Seviper has a blue blade and blue fangs, and its scars are now, well, pink, but pink is close enough to red. But then they changed Zangoose's claws to black. What the heck, why? Were too many kids making that connection, and widespread scarification is just a tad too violent for these games, so they changed it once they could? Maybe. Or maybe the anime just got the colors wrong from the get-go, and they just went with that from there on. Oh well. Let's talk Seviper now. What an epic-sounding name. Seviper! It's a viper that will sever you with its blade tail, which is actually just like the etymology of Zangoose. It's a mongoose that will slash you with its claws, and Zan or Zon is Japanese for slash. But why a viper? Mongoose have a rivalry with king cobras, don't they? Well, yeah, most famously anyway, but there was already a cobra Pokemon. In fact, Arbok is cobra backwards. And with the world of snakes being as wide as it is, it'd be pretty lame sauce to have another cobra instead of something else for the third snake Pokemon. So instead, they went with a viper. Viperidae are a family of snakes that are all particularly venomous and have longer hinged fangs. Basically, if your snake looks cool, sharp, and mean, it's probably a viper. But if it's got a little puppy dog face, it's a python. And then cobras have hoods. And while cobras are most often pitted against mongoose in the Middle East to India, in Southeast Asia, where mongoose also are, there are actually a few vipers they regularly face off against too. Commonly, various habu, which also happen to have diamond patterns kinda like Seviper, though the most famous example of this kind of patterning is, of course, the diamondback rattlesnake, which, yes, despite the name, is another viper. Ooh, and look at that pose it's striking. It's a rather striking pose. While Seviper circles and folds itself up vertically, real vipers do it more horizontally and curl a bit more, and the reason they do this is simple. First, they make themselves appear smaller, which makes hiding in grass easier, but it also makes them seem like less of a threat, or less of a worthwhile hunt.
Oh, you don't want to eat me. I'm like nothing. I got no meats on these bones.
But then it also gives them a surprise attack. At any moment, it can use its body like a spring under tension. It can release and send its face and fangs forward several feet as it rapidly extends itself, catching its attacker or its prey off guard. When you see any snake take this pose, it's best to stay away, and Seviper is almost always in this pose, already ready to lash out and attack. But there's still something off about these snakes. I mean, Pokemon can take all the creative liberties they want, of course, but there's one other viper I feel like mentioning as a point of inspiration, because it not only has a pattern that's a bit more rectangular, like Seviper's, as opposed to these vipers we've been talking about with their perfect diamonds. Plus, have you ever noticed that Seviper is stinking huge? The real world biggest viper isn't even close to that big, but the title goes to the Gaboon Viper, which also happens to have these lightly colored, slightly pointed rectangles along its spine, like Seviper. These vipers live in Central Africa, which also happens to have the densest population of those in the mongoose family. Sure, their rivalry in this part of the world isn't as famous as in and around India, where it's a sport, but it's still there, and I really, really wish I could go back and explain all of this to my little confused kid self. Also to invest in certain stocks, but this would be important too. What are some Pokemon lore and origin things you didn't know as a kid, or maybe still don't know, and that's okay. Surely you know what you don't know. And do you know why trading Shelmet and Carablast with each other is how you evolve them? It's based in reality too, and you can watch this video here to learn all about that, and to continue using your noggin.